Hey, this is Joe Fagundes with Berkshire Hathaway down here on the Emerald Coast. JoeKnowsParadise.com is a website. I would love for you to go visit it, take a look at it. You can look at properties. You can find out more about me. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me or give me a call at 850-699-7047. Just want to do a quick update on all the changes that you're seeing and you're hearing and been reading about as far as the new procedure for what's going on with real estate brokers and agents, and compensation requirements and supposed transparency type things that this settlement has put in. They've created, I think they've created 8 to 10 forms, and it varies all over the country, but different ways for us to put it in front of, besides having a buyer's agent representative agreement, but also, all the compensation issues that we didn't have until they did this, quite frankly. And, I've taken a look at it, and from my standpoint, I think everything needs to be in the contract. It takes care of itself. You don't have a ton of additional forms. You still have to do broker-to-broker forms just because that's kind of always been the case. But if everything goes into the contract and it's all transparent and it's laid out, the seller sees it in one document, the buyer sees it in one document, they initial every page, and they sign off. I'm working with a lot of different buyers right now. We all have buyer agent, exclusive buyer agent agreements. We've agreed to a number. That number is amendable. That number is certainly able to change based on what sellers are offering for compensation for our buyers. This is going to make it better for the consumer over time, but I think it only makes it better because it made people really think about how they were doing their business on the front end. There's a lot of people that have panicked. There's a lot of agents and brokers that have panicked, and you're going to see all types of different press releases and whatnot. But if you just strip everything back to the most simple way of doing things, if everything is in the contract, you're going to not have any questions as to who's doing what, how it was done, and when it goes on to the closing statement or the closing disclosure or the ALTA or whatever you want to call that form that has migrated itself, then everybody is very clear because it's all laid out. Everybody signs off on it. Everybody knows it up front from the contract. They see it again on the closing statement. And everybody moves forward. There are a lot of people that aren't comfortable asking for exclusive buyer's agent agreements. That's just the nature of this business now. You've got to be comfortable with it. You've got to know your value as an agent. You got to know your value as a brokerage, and you got to know what you bring to the table. And when we're talking about those things, there's a lot of agents that talk about experiences and creating things. The bottom line is when I'm working with a seller, I want to work in a market that not only am I familiar with, but that I understand and have a good grasp of who the buyers are in that market. Because our job is to take your property and get it to as many eyes and as many buyers, potential buyers, not just people, but potential buyers that are going to act. And their action may not take place for 6 months. It may take place in 4 months. It may take place in 2 days. But if we're not getting it to all of them and making sure that they see that we're presenting properties that may interest them in multiple areas, they're not going to keep looking at the agent that you're working with, and your listings will eventually bleed off. It's so important to match up and do your agent interviews and make sure that it's somebody that has got not only your best, always we're going to have your best interest in mind, but the bottom line is do they have the ability to get it and get the information to somebody that's willing to write the check. And I think that's what you're going to see. Some of these craziness, looping back around to the form, some of this craziness is kind of weeding out those that aren't confident enough and comfortable enough in their markets. It's not 2000, it's not COVID, it's not 2000 to, or 2019 to 2023 anymore. You can't just write up a listing and put it on the MLS and the house is going to sell. You've got to market it, you've got to know who to get it in front of, and you've got to know how to do that in a quick way. So again, if you have any questions about what's going on, give me a call. I'm Joe Fagundes. This is Joe Knows Paradise, our podcast. Please check out the website, DM me, or give me a call at 850-699-7047.